name is Steve Mattuecci. Steve, are you on the line with me?
I am here, Patrick.
All right, well, welcome. Thank you very much for taking time to show up today.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Absolutely.
I know you're always very busy trying to get you just signed up a client recently, right?
We signed our first client on June the 1st, and we're getting ready to hopefully get the second one pretty soon, I hope.
And are they this one up and running yet? You billing
Yeah,
for
they're
them?
running. We're doing the billing for them. We've collected some insurance claims for them, and they're kind of taking their. It's kind of an unusual practice, and they're sort of taking their time and doing it in stages. Not because of our end, but just because of their end. But yeah, we're working hard for them, and it's been fun.
It's a well, fun is one of the words you could use, I guess, for getting a new client up and running. Sometimes it's a challenge. Sometimes it depends on the type of doctor, whether or not they've got their act together, right?
Yes, and that's one of the things. One of the challenges with this practice is they're very unusual practice with a very strange kind of mixture of doctors. Everything from a family practitioner to a yoga instructor and therapists and things like that. So they've been going at it a little bit slowly. And the part that's fun is you just learn a ton of stuff about the system and putting it up and getting all the stuff together that you need. And I've had a great time actually getting to know the people in the practice because I'm over there about once a week just helping them get going and answering questions and things like that. It's a really customer service intensive kind of business, which
Sure.
I really think is the best kind.
Yes, because the doctors really want to deal with somebody that's just local, don't they? They don't want to deal with somebody that's overseas or something like that. So they like the fact that you're the guy. The buck stops here, right?
That's right, and we have technology partners. We have ABS behind us. There's a lot of wonderful sort of muscle and knowledge and stuff behind us. But you're right; they need to see me, and the fact that they can't see me. And this is the thing about where I am. I'm in Vermont, and Vermont's a very small state, and they very much like local things, and so that's been a very big deal for me in my marketing is to say we are a local company. We are right here. We will come and sit down with you and talk to you, and that's a big relief because most of the people that they deal with are on the other side of an 800 number and not always easy to get to.
Yeah, they don't like that going to a voicemail and going through 12 different choices and that kind of thing. They like to just talk to the guy. I don't know about you, but a lot of our licensees just, when they've gotten connection with that provider, they just say, hey, here's my cell phone. I want you to bypass everybody and just come to me if that's what you need to do. And of course, in many cases, they can come to anywhere, right? They don't know that you don't have a huge staff of people, including, of course, all the ABS staff and our providers, our technology partners, and so forth behind you.
That's right, and the beauty of this is we can play up both the massive expertise that ABS and technology partners provide for us, while at the same time playing up the local small company, family business side of it as well. And that's the beauty of this is that we actually are both of those two things at the same time.
Yeah, you can, and we teach you, don't we, Steve, to position yourself as if you are a part of the nation's largest network of medical revenue managers. The corporate as a network, we process thousands of claims every day for hundreds of doctors from coast to coast. And we
Right.
collect millions of dollars in revenue for those doctors that they wouldn't have collected otherwise. That's a good way to position yourself, isn't it, when you're a part of a network like ABS?
It is. It is a good way to position yourself because, one of the things that I have demonstrated to my clients so far has been I don't have all the answers off the top of my head, but I'm able to go back to my office and in a very short period of time get an answer from either the ABS, the ABS support or from our technology partner support and I get that answer very quickly back, and I get that back to them, and we just kind of keep moving on, which is it's been great because the reality is, especially when you're first starting out, you don't know all the answers, right, and even if you are well experienced, there's always a curveball that someone wants to throw you. But to know that there are people behind you that are dealing with these kind of questions from all over the country, from all kinds of different practices, means that you're going to get an answer. And that's one of the great things, by the way, that I have found about ABS has been they always answer your questions. And I don't know if you how well you remember the training that I was at, but I made myself asking questions.
Oh, I remember. Yes, some folks stand out in a class, Steve, and you were one of them because you did ask a lot of questions. But you know what? We heard from other licensees there towards the end, that they appreciate the fact that there's people who ask questions that they didn't think of. That's the value of a live workshop like that. You get to hear things that other people have thought of that you didn't.
That's right. But the most important thing to me was my questions were answered. There was somebody there who was able to answer my question. And even if Cynthia didn't have it off the top of her head, there was someone else right there who could answer it. And I got an answer to every question. And then after I became a licensee and started doing work, just emails or phone calls can be made to ABS, and you get an answer. And I love that. And I don't think I've ever waited more than I've never waited 24 hours. They say, on the licensee support side, it says, give 24 hours. I've never waited 24 hours for an answer. I think the longest I ever waited was if I put a question in at 6 o'clock in the evening. I'll get the answer back at like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and that's that's the longest I think I've ever waited. And it's been great. The service has been really good.
Yeah, we don't publicize this, of course. We're not open 24/7, of course, for support because, well, doctors' offices aren't open 24/7. But we do have technical people that are there from 7 a.m. Pacific time to 7 p.m. Eastern, or maybe I have that backwards. Anyway, it's early to late.
Early to late.
Yeah, and then we also have our own support staff who, and again, I don't publicize this much, but some of them, contrary to what I tell them, they sometimes take messages, text messages, and phone calls on their cell phones because they just want to help,
You definitely get that. You definitely pick that up as you deal with people, that they want to give you an answer. They want you to give you a good answer. They want you to be helped. And I'm not open 24 hours a day either. So waiting until the next morning when I put one in late in the evening is not a hardship for me.
Yeah, you mentioned Cynthia earlier. I put her picture back up there on the screen. I'll put it back up there. She's the one in red up front in this classroom there, those of you who are looking at the screen. And tell them about Cynthia, because some people think we just use, our own instructors.
Well, Cynthia is a licensee, and as my understanding, she's been doing this for about 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And she certainly has a lot of expertise and knowledge. And a big hunk of the training is on marketing and all the various ways in which you can use to try to get that first client, and she's very, very good with that. In fact, when we were trying to nail down our first client, we were running into a little bit of a snag with them, and they were kind of fidgeting about a few things. And I contacted ABS. I sent an email and just said, hey, we're having this problem. I'm not sure exactly how to handle it. What can you do to help me? And I thought I'd get an email back or something like that, but I didn't. I got basically a phone call from Cynthia to talk through how we could handle it, and we kind of basically did what she said, and we got the client, and I think the next day.
Yeah, and Cynthia, of course, she's not an employee of ABS. She's her own independent business owner. She's, like you said, been doing this for 8 years. She's got a staff. She's got a commercial office space. But, she has people that can do the work while she's out of town. So she'll come down here for that week to do the training. And then on the back end, she actually takes phone calls like this and makes phone calls to licensees for us. Of course, we're compensating her for her time. But I'm telling you, she would do it even if we didn't. She loves supporting licensees and seeing other people, reach their level of success like she did.
Yep, and she was very helpful. She gave us some great ideas, not only for the one client, but also a little bit even in the broader marketing that we were doing. So, I mean, again, that's support, the kind of support that you guys promised, and that's the kind of support that you've delivered, and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Stephen. And you know that we're nice guys. That's why we do that, right? I'm being facetious there. Steve knows that we are very open about the fact that we also make money on the back end, on the transactions through our technology partners. We make a few pennies on all the claims that go through the system. So we have a vested interest in your success, and that's why, Steve, at one time we had just like a couple years support, at the most, and that was limited, and then we charged so much per year after that. Some companies do that. I just decided at one point, told everybody, look, why wouldn't we want to support them if we make money on everything they do? So let's just say it's lifetime support, and it is. So yeah, you're stuck with us. And we do have licensees. Even Cynthia, she'll call us up about stuff from time to time. It's just great to know that you've always got somebody there if you do need them,
And the other side of it is that this medical billing that we're doing is a service business, and we have to take care of our clients. And to work with you guys, you're basically a good model of what customer service should look like as we go out and do the same thing. So we're all kind of in the same kind of customer service related business, and you guys have been a good example of that.
Well, thank you. But boy, in today's world, you better be customer oriented, huh? You'll lose your customers to some other company real fast if you're not servicing them after the sale. So very important.
Yeah, and in this kind of business where you're doing monthly, billing every single day and charging them each month for what you've collected, you're engaged with them all the time, and you have to have that mindset that we're not, like, for example, I'll just give you an example. When I was a lawyer, I had over 1,000 clients in the 10 or 15 years I was doing it, but it was all transaction. They would come in, we would sit down for an hour to 2 hours. I'd get all kinds of information from them. I'd draft up a will or a trust or something like that, and then we'd get together about a week later and we'd sign it, and then off they would go. And for the vast majority of those clients, I never saw them again. And so basically it was just a transaction. I had to keep getting more and more clients because I had to keep bringing the funds in. But this kind of business is completely different because the idea is that you build a relationship with your clients, and they're paying you month after month after month after month. And so one client is it could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over time. And that's the way I think it's a much better way. And so you're building a relationship. It's not transactional. It is definitely relational, and it's all oriented toward serving them and taking care of them.
Yeah, you just touched on one of the questions. I'm kind of glancing at some of the questions coming in here. Gary was asking what's your background prior to starting this. So, Steve, everything was going smooth. I really didn't need to know that you were an attorney before you got involved in this, but thanks for sharing that anyway. We will not hold that against you.
I was a nice attorney. I was a friendly, happy attorney.
I can tell. So that means, I guess, Steve, I want to verify this because somebody else is asking the question. John says, did you have any background in the medical field?
I did not. The closest I ever came to having a medical background is I would do estate planning for doctors, and I would listen to them complain about Medicare reimbursement rates and insurance, slow pay stuff, and how horrible their cash flow was. And I mean, they had assets, and I was doing their estate planning for that. But that's about as close as I came to a medical background. I was listening to doctors complain about their billing services.
Yeah. Now, Steve, I have a picture here on the screen of your sweet family. Lisa, your wife there, and Joe, your son, came to the training too.
He did. Yeah, we decided to partner up together, and I do sort of the the business side of things as well as the customer service side once we get someone signed and getting going. And Lisa, she does most of the billing, the actual submitting of claims and things like that. So it's a nice little family business. It really is.
Yeah, so you're saying Joe is the one that's going out, he's doing some networking, he's doing all the things we taught about marketing to get clients, and then you're the guy that kind of, I guess, the operations guy.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The operations guy, the backroom guy, and so yeah, so he develops relationships. He's developed relationships with several of the doctors around. And then once we signed this one up, then I kind of took over. It just happened that way. I don't know why, but it happened that way. Yeah. And I've been providing most of the customer service to them. But he's out there every day, making calls and seeing people. So, which is great because I'm terrible at that.
Well, all right, so let's see. I'm glancing at some more questions here. Let's see. This one's also from Gary. He's asking, when did you complete training? How long did it take you to get your first client?
Okay, so this is a little bit unusual. We did it the first week of November last year. So then, you come back and you go through your materials and you get your company set up, and we got a logo and we got business cards and the website set up and all the stuff that that you need to do to get started. And by the time we did that, we were pushing right against Thanksgiving. So we decided to kind of keep getting the business ready and develop it before we started marketing. So we didn't really start marketing until January of this year, and we got our first client on June the 1st.
Yeah. Now, for some people, that sounds like a long time, but for a business that is, well, what I call a real business that has residual month after month after month income, so what? Some people get them their first client in 30 days, some in 90. Even if it took you 6 months, now you've got a client that is going to earn you, I guess, a nice revenue each month.
That's right, and the thing is, it's like you're going to them and saying, we want to be your partners in this. And so, I mean, the one way to think of it is we're not trying to get them to come into our store and buy, a pack of gum for, $2 or something. Right. We want to commit to this relationship that we're going to have, and we're going to build them, like you said, hundreds of thousands of dollars over a period of time, and that takes time. You have to develop the relationship. You have to, show yourself to be someone that can be trusted and relied on, and it just takes a little bit of time, but it is worth the time, And then once you've done that, once you got a client up and running, then it just becomes easier. Joe talked to a doctor today, and we're going to do a demo for them next week, and he was able to say, we already have this client, we're already doing this for this client, and this is the kind of service we're giving this client, and it just adds a lot of credibility.
Yeah, so to give people a feel for that, Steve, this first client that you signed is a group of what? Some sort of mental health group?
That's right. They have 6 therapists and a family family medicine doctor. Then they have another practitioner. He's a psychiatrist. He's not there very much. He's sort of a part-time guy. And then they have a yoga instructor, a massage therapist, and a chiropractor. So it's a very unusual practice. And so we walked in. Actually, this is kind of a weird one because we walked in at just the right time when they were seriously looking to do something because their practice was a little disorganized. And Joe was able to talk to them about it, and then he went back about a week or so later and did a practice analysis for them, and asked all the questions, and then about a week after that we came back with a demo, and it made our proposal, and even after that we still went back and forth several times. So we probably started talking to them about towards the end of March, and we signed the contract at the end of May. So it took a couple months.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes a time, especially if you've done the practice analysis correctly. You go back and do the proposal correctly, and then I guess you had a demo. Did you let us show them a demo of the system?
Absolutely. The demo was great. We've done 2 of those, I think. 3. No, we've done 3. And they've been fantastic. I mean, the EMRX guys who handle that, they really just walk the practice through it. We actually had a doctor and the practice manager in the room for the demo, and they showed them both the EMRX side and the iClaim side, and and they were able to just kind of walk their way through it, show the integration of everything, answer every question that they had. Very, very well done.
Well, all right, so for people listening who are not quite clear what we're talking about, we actually do a demo of our system. I'll put that screen back up there that shows the system. And the doctors like to see this, don't they, Steve? Because they're blown away, really, when they see the leading-edge technology that we have where they could use it on their iPad. It has built-in eligibility checking in real time, and, just so many features that just some of them are sitting there usually going, wow.
I'd go further than that. They don't just want it. They have to see it before they'll buy it, because it is a big commitment of time and some money and things like that. And so, yes, they absolutely want to see it. And the beauty of it is that it's done so well that we want to show it. I mean, it's like, we're not like, well, no, we'll get to that later. No, we want you to see it, because it is so well done.
Yeah, because they'll have access to the scheduler that's built into it, of course. If they're using the EMRX electronic health records, of course, the doctor is going to be putting the data in on that system, which sends it right to the billing, the iClaim system, where you can do the billing from that. And
right.
So it eliminates a lot of work on your part, doesn't it, for the claims?
It does, and I did some reading on medical billing, and they talked about super bills and going to pick them up, and Cynthia talked about that a little bit too in the training, or faxing them over to people. I mean, we don't deal with any of that stuff.
Right.
They push a button in EMRX, and the claim is sitting in our system 2 seconds later.
That's the great part about a cloud-based system, isn't it? It's instantaneous in real time.
It is, and then we're able to submit the bill, and it takes a couple of minutes, to kind of go through the bill and check it and everything and send it. But once we send it, then it's connected to our clearinghouse, and it's just all done very smoothly, very quickly.
Well, let's go back to that question, because we had 2 or 3 people ask. They're always interested in, how long does it take to get a client? And even though it took you said you kind of started there in January, got it actually completed in June, although paperwork I think was done in May, you said. But the point is that you got this client that. Do you mind sharing, Steve? What kind of revenue will this mean for your company? This one client. Well,
their practice is actually going through a little bit of an upheaval, but it could easily bring us in anywhere from, say, $60,000 to $75,000 per year, based on the projections that they gave us.
Wow.
I mean, that's one client. Now they're billing several different people, but it's and a lot of them are part-time. A lot of the people are part-time, but it's a very nice piece of business. And like I said, you have to work hard to get it, but once you get it, you've got it. As long as you take care of them, it just keeps coming in.
Like you said, unlike most businesses where you've got to go out and recreate the wheel every month, and you're basically, once you've signed one client and you've done the work for them as an attorney, you're out of work, right? You're out of business until you find another client.
That's pretty much it. That's right. So it's 1 month away from bankruptcy, because you're going to have new clients. But I mean, obviously, once you've been in business for a while as an attorney, you get referrals from people that you do create relationships with and stuff like that. But you do have to keep getting new clients all the time. And I mean, our goals as this business, we want to keep getting new clients and expanding and hiring people. We want to do all those kinds of things. But I can easily see someone jumping into this, picking up 2 or 3 clients, and being satisfied with just taking care of those clients and earning the living that they provide. I can see it going either way.
Yeah, we've always said that, since this is a licensing situation, we don't sell a franchise, so there's no quotas, there's no goals that you have to reach every month, something like that. However small you want the business to be, or however large you want it to be, that it's your business. You can do whatever you want to with this. And some people literally, Steve, they market for that first client, and then if they provide the right service to that client, like we said earlier, then all of a sudden they continue to get referrals, and the business just grows, organically, without doing much marketing after that first time. Somebody was asking how you got that first client. Can you kind of tell us what did Joe do? Was this what kind of method of marketing did he use to get that client?
Well, we use a direct approach, the direct marketing approach. So he walked into their office and introduced himself, said who he was.
Just cold off the street.
Oh, right off the street. And he had walked into a bunch of them that day, and that was one of them. And it was kind of funny because he felt like he kind of got brushed off, and he told me afterwards, I went into this place. It's kind of an unusual practice, and they didn't really seem that interested. And the next day after he went in there, we got an email from the office manager asking him to come back and talk to her some more. So we kind of walked in at the right time for that one. And
wow.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because you never know. And the thing that we've noticed is he has gone into, I don't know how many offices this way, kind of cold calling, and then he'll follow up, and he'll keep following up, and they recognize him when he walks in. He's able to say hi. He's able to have a little chit chat, just remind him where we are, and they'll talk to him about what they're thinking and things like that. And people who have said that they weren't interested the first time he walked in, a couple of weeks or a month or 2 months later, all of a sudden they want to talk to him some more about these things. And we listened to a webinar that you guys did for licensees, and one of the things that the guy, and I can't think of his name unfortunately, that the licensee said was, he ended up being the on-deck person for a couple of people, and they would, as soon as they were ready to go, he was the one they were going to call. And that's what Joe has done. He has gotten us on deck at I think 5 practices. They're not ready to pull the trigger yet, but all the effort that it took us to get the first client is also the same effort that it took us to get to this point where we're actually on deck with several practices. So none of that effort has been wasted at all.
Steve, tell people what you mean by that term, on deck.
Well, it's just that they're saying we're thinking about this. We're not ready to go yet, but as soon as we're ready to make a change, either get an EHR or change EHR providers or something like that, or outsource billing or change the biller, one of those kinds of things. They're close to doing that, or they're thinking about doing that, but they're not ready to do it yet. But now they've basically said to Joe, once we've decided to go ahead with this, we're going to call you first.
Yeah.
And so at that point, we will get an opportunity to make a full presentation and a proposal and all that kind of thing. But that's relationship development, and all that time that we were trying to get that first client, we were also developing these relationships that are going to get us our second and third and fourth, et cetera, clients.
Yeah, it's kind of like planting seed for some certain plant. Some of those plants will grow up and pop up, before the others. But they're all out there, and like you said, he's been planting seed all over the place that will eventually, if he nurtures that, relationship with those people and keeps his name and company name in front of those people, yeah, you position yourself to be what I call the first choice for their second choice. In other words, whatever they're doing now they think is working. When that at some point it dawns on them that it's really not working, they're not receiving all the money that they could be receiving, you're the first choice, hopefully, that they think of. You're at the top of their mind.
That's right. That's what we're shooting for, and he's done a good job with that. He, it's hard. Sales is hard. You get a lot of rejection, but one of the things he's seen is initial rejection is not absolute rejection. If he keeps going back and smiles and keeps talking to him and answering questions for him and showing that he's here, he's a local guy, and he's right here around the corner. I mean, those things, they pay off over time.
Yeah, that's part of why we have, our auto card system, because you can automatically drip, a contact with that office automatically through that system on a regular basis through actual postcards and greeting cards that are sent out in the mail to those people. And it's just amazing how that works, Steve, because we've had licensees call us up and say, I just heard from a doctor that I hadn't talked to in 7 months, and the only reason they call me is because I put them on that automatic, auto card system that kept our name in front of them. Well, we've answered some. Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that we did early on is Lisa is a floral designer, and she does it kind of on the side, and so she created a little flower arrangement, and we put one of those get well balloons, one of those little tiny mylar balloons that go into the flower, and it was a big get well, and then we put a little sign up. When was the last time your practice had a checkup? And the thing is, it's like, because it's flowers, people aren't throwing it away, and because they're fresh flowers, they'll sit in the office for a week, and we'll have our little billboard sitting there for a week, and that has helped Joe when he comes back the next time after giving him the flowers. They're like, oh yeah, the flowers, we remember the flowers, yeah, and it's like an open door for him to talk. So
that's a great idea, Steve. I've never heard anybody use flowers like that, but I can see how it ties in with as your practice had a checkup. Wow.
Because people give flowers as get well things all the time. So it's like, okay, we're going to give you now. We're giving you the flowers.
Because your practice is sick. You just don't know it. Okay, Steve, let's see. I think we answered Brenda's question. Brenda asked, how did you get that first client? Did you use a salesperson? All right, and let's Ashley asked something similar to that. So did Michelle. Let's see. Here we go. Here's a Beanie. Beanie says, as an attorney, did you have any conflict with entering into contracts with doctors because of professional responsibility?
Okay. See, I'm not an attorney now.
Yeah.
I gave that up. So there is no conflict. I'm just a businessman now. I'm not holding myself out as an attorney or telling people that I can give them legal advice or anything like that. So no, there's no conflict at all. I mean, it doesn't hurt for the credibility, that I have a background.
Sure.
But
right.
It's not a conflict of interest with a legal practice because I'm not practicing.
I tell people, if you've got any professional training or background or certification or letters after your name, use it.
Yeah.
That does build credibility. It shows them that you're educated, if nothing else, and that you're not just some schlup off the street. Hey, let's ask this question. Somebody asked a question about, does iClaim require the EMRX system to operate? Gary, no. You can just do billing for a doctor, and they don't have to be using the EMRX at all. But Steve, what about this practice? Are they on the EMRX?
They are, and our approach is, and you're right, you don't have to have both, but our approach is to promote the use of both, because we're not just trying to do their billing, we're trying to help their practice in a big picture kind of way, and to eliminate the requirements that you have to move data from one system to another and all that kind of stuff. The efficiency and the workflow and all the things that we sell when we integrate everything together, we really kind of promote that. We really don't want our clients to suffer through using two different systems and switching back and forth between them. But that's just our approach. That's and I know that there are lots and lots of licensees who just do billing and use iClaim for that. But we're trying to take an approach of sort of that big picture. We're trying to help your practice, to grow and to become more efficient. So we've been promoting it that way.
Yeah, although we do have many licensees who've signed up doctors and they're just doing their billing. They're not using the electronic medical record system. In some cases, they have their own, and we can tie that in with our system. Or sometimes they're older doctors who are still on paper, and they just decided not to go that route at all. And they may never go electronic, on their records. But I think the government's going to push them that direction eventually.
And we haven't come up against a person who adamantly refuses to change EHRs and wants a new biller. And I think if we hit that kind of a person, we might be willing to just do the billing for them. But as a business model and as a marketing model, we're not really pushing that as an option right now. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, I know other licensees do it differently, and that's fine. So far that's kind of the approach that we took.
Yeah. Now, Steve, I think you mentioned to me that at least the very first time we talked, when you were talking about this mental health group, that you were also maybe talking to some other group. Is there another client that you're working with right now that you think you're moving forward on?
Well, there was a pair of retina surgeons who we were talking to, and their system is causing them all kinds of problems, but they've decided that they're going to try to make it work, and they've put together sort of a support group of other people who are suffering with this system. It's almost comical, but they're going to try to make it work, and if they can't make it work, they're going to call us. I mean, when he told us that, we wrote to him and said, that's the beauty of our system. You don't need a support group. We support you. And he appreciated that, and but we're on deck with those guys. And then even just today, he talked to a one doctor pediatrics practice, and had a wonderful conversation with them. We're going to do a live demo with them next week, and so that's another really good prospect for us.
Somebody's asking the name of our EHR system. This is it right here, folks. I've got it on the screen. I pointed to it there. It's the EMRX. Get it? Prescription? Anyway, EMRX is what the name of our electronic health record system is. By the way, we're the only company that's out there. I don't know if you've found this to be true, Steve, but there's no other company that has everything integrated. We have a patient portal. We have the iClaim system, of course, for the billing and the scheduling. We've got the EMRX for electronic health records. And, of course, we have our own clearinghouse. So the buck stops here with us. Nobody else can be blamed for it. We don't send the claims out to a third-party clearinghouse. We are the clearinghouse.
And that's a phenomenal selling point that we have, because everybody we've talked to, they all have practice management software, of course. They all have, and then some of them will have EHRs, and they're never in together. There's always a lot of backing and forthing between the two, and so that's one of the things we about is we've got it. Not only is the iClaim and the EMR together, but the clearinghouse is connected. We're connected. The billers are connected, and then we're connected to the clearinghouse, and it all kind of goes around in a big, huge circle because the clearinghouse can tell the front office whether or not a person's insurance is valid before they ever go see the doctor, and then the information that the that's on the patient that's in iClaim gets immediately transferred to the correct system, and then doctor pushes one button and it gets sent, and the encounter gets sent to us as a biller, and then we take care of the bill and it goes to the clearinghouse. It just all works so beautifully together, so smoothly, and that's basically what we're selling to doctors, that we can help their practice in this way. And even if we couldn't cut the rejection rate down, still a good deal. But the icing on the cake is we can cut their rejection rate down.
Yeah, and part of that is because it is all integrated, works, synergistically, and of course the clearinghouse is ours, and so that's one of the reasons. Some people don't realize, Joe, that nationwide some doctors have a 30 to 35% rejection rate on their claims, and they usually don't do anything about those claims. They just kind of let them stack up and do some kind of write-off at the end of the year. But doctors would rather have that money in their bank account, wouldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't hit anybody with 35%. We've hit around 17, between 15 and 20, right around 17%. But that's still a huge amount of money.
Oh yeah, when a doctor, some practices could bring in $1 million to $2 million a year. Sure, 17% of that is still a chunk of change, isn't it?
It is, and we go in and we say, well, we're gonna charge you 6% of what we collect, but what we're gonna collect is not just 83% of your claims, but we're gonna collect 98, 99%. So even with our 6%, you're still gonna make 10% more than you were making, and it's a good argument. I mean, it's even paying us, and that's assuming that they're not paying a single penny to do billing right now, which of course is ridiculous. They are paying, and so so it really will be more than 10% because we'll also cut the cost that they're paying now for doing their billing. And it's a very powerful presentation when you've got all the numbers together and you can show them what you can do for them.
Yeah, their internal cost for billing is usually 2 or 3 times what they think it is once we do that practice analysis, and it's kind of a shocker to some doctors that they're actually paying what they're paying. When you consider the staff, the overhead, the software updates, IT support. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
That's right.
Okay.
We had one doctor that we talked to. We're still talking to her, but her system was very inefficient, both on the front desk and on the EHR sides. And her goal was to meet with 16 patients a day, but she could only meet with 10 because that's all the time that she and her staff had to take care of the patients and process everything. So I went in and said, well, look, if we integrate this all together, you can have the same people working just as hard, and you can hit your 16 patients a day. On top of that, we'll collect. They were right around the 17% as well. We'll collect, 99%, 98%. So now we're going to be collecting 98% of 16 patients a day instead of you only getting 83% of 10 patients a day. And we said that we could almost double the practice's revenue doing it that way.
That's a great example, Steve, of reallocation of the staff's time, because there's people who worry about the fact that we're going to eliminate the billers, the people who are doing the billing inside the doctor's office. But you just told us exactly the solution to that is you reallocate those people's time to help the doctor see more patients, and that means more revenue for everybody.
That's right. And so that's exactly right. And we haven't hit a situation where someone had to fire a staff member because they were going to hire us. We haven't dealt with that at all, and I hope we never do, because that's not the point. I mean, if they're going to fire anybody, I just want them to fire their outsourced biller, not their in-house.
Yeah, whoever's messing up their billing now needs to be gotten rid of. That's for sure. Let's hear a question from Don. He says the medical industry is consolidating. Aren't the numbers of independent practices declining what does that mean for the market for AV systems licensees? I think he's right. I think a lot of doctors are abandoning private practice. That's one of the reasons why Dr. Rackner and I wrote that book, the New Thriving Medical Practice. Have I sent you a copy of that yet, Steve?
No, I haven't gotten it.
I'll have it shipped out tomorrow. You need to read this because this is a wonderful tool that Joe can use in his marketing. We have a whole chapter in there on how money flows in and out of your practice. And wait till you see some of the quotes in that you can highlight and mark
Right.
for the doctor to read. It will basically sell outsourcing to a doctor. But yeah, doctors are struggling right now. Some of them are being absorbed by the big hospitals, and so our goal as a network is to help the ones that are, I mean, there'll always be private practices, right? We want to help those doctors to thrive and make as much money as they can. And in fact, we've had lots of licensees tell us that they've actually salvaged a practice who they were thinking about shutting down, and because they changed their cash flow to a very positive, they stayed in practice. So that's good for everybody. The community needs private doctors.
And that's actually our approach, our sort of vision and mission statements deal with that exactly. I mean, what we're trying to do, what we tell people is we're trying to keep Vermont independent doctors independent.
Yes.
And our view is that if we have as many independent doctors as possible, then patients have more options, and there's more creativity in the marketplace, and it helps the patients as well as the doctor. And there are forces here in Vermont that do push doctors toward jumping in with the hospitals, but there's still quite a few independents around here, and that's what we're trying to work with them. Absolutely.
Yeah. Daniel is saying, how would one bill just for a practice and not use the EMRX? How would you get the information to do the billing? Well, Daniel, there's lots of ways to do that. We have a system. Let me see if I can find the actual brochure here, but we have a system that's called iDocs Now, and that allows the doctor's office to upload all of their documents to this cloud system where they can access the documents, but then you can access them as well. So rather than sending you any kind of paper at all, or even using faxes or emails, we use the iDocs Now system to do that. He also said something about can you convert the data from another billing system to EMRX and iClaim. Yes, there's a standard out there, Daniel, called the HL7, Health Level 7. It's just a kind of a standard for all health systems. Most systems are HL7 compliant, and if they are, then we can import their data into our system there. Yeah, we need to. Ashley wants to know, Steve, are you utilizing any of the other services that ABS offers, for example, Quick Collect, Choice Pay, and all those other things? Have you offered any of those, or have you even thought about that before, since you're too busy uploading this?
What we decided to do, and I'll tell you, when you go to the training, the vast array of options is astonishing. So, as you mentioned, there's so many different things that we do have available to us. And as we sat down and thought about it, we figured out that really what our bread and butter would be is the billing. So EMRX and iClaim, and then what our plan is that as we develop a relationship with doctors and as we do a good job for them and they trust us, then we would start to talk to them about the other services. But we have done Choice Pay, and one of the doctors we talked to them about Quick Collect because they had a massive amount of a huge patient accounts receivable, and so that was one of the big needs. But we haven't talked to anybody about iDocs Now. That's going to be one of those things that we bring up later, and to try to help them with their overload of paper. So we just kind of sat down and decided what our model would be, and we decided that's how we were going to approach it, because we did want to be a revenue management company. We wanted to be a good biller for these people first, and that's, I mean, to be honest, out of all the things we saw, that's where the money is taking care of this particular need for doctors.
It is.
And at the training, they'll tell you stories about people who made good money with Quick Collect or iDocs now, one of the other services. But like I said, we decided this is the kind of company we wanted to be, and so we're starting with that and trying to lay a foundation and then build on that with the other services.
Sure. Tim says, have you thought about using sales reps to help get clients? Well, that's basically what your son is at this point, right? He is the sales rep.
Right, but we have thought about it. We have a business plan that we're up in the northern part of Vermont, near Burlington, and we have a plan of kind of going across New England, but we want to start here in Vermont and build our base here, and then we'll hire sales reps for other parts of New England when we're ready to go. So we haven't got there yet, but that is our plan. And you're right, though, that's basically what Joe is doing for us. Is he's being our in-house sales rep.
Yeah, and we do have licensees that, that's how they built their business. They just found sales reps literally from coast to coast. You can do this nationwide, and so you can find sales reps all over the place working for you because it's all done, virtually, and you can use technology like we're using here to have meetings and that kind of thing. So, well, Steve, I have a few more questions here, but some of them are related to upcoming trainings and that type of thing, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much. Please say hello to Lisa and Joe for me, and I appreciate so much your time today, Steve, for being on here.
My pleasure, Patrick, and it's good to talk to you.
Yeah, good to talk to you. You know we're here for anything you need.
Oh, yes, I know. All right, thanks. Bye.
Yeah, all right, talk to you later. Bye-bye.